But I'd like to start with Amaray adding the information she was guided to add about who it is that we will be connecting with in the heavens, so that our work is amplified and that we do it with the heartfelt humility to serve, our intention to be of service, but to do it, to do our work as divinely guided as possible. So Amaray, would you like to share, please? You're on mute, sweetie.
So I actually, in the way I normally do, had to bring photographs into it so I could talk about it better. So Bev, if you would make me a co-host too, please. Thank you. And I'm gonna put up. So I'll move all these little gadgets around. Thank you. So what Janet is asking me to do, we decided to really talk about the multidimensional awareness, our connection through our I am presence, and then out into all the realms that we as multidimensional beings of light and love connect with. And when we're not awake, the connection is still there. It's just happening on a level that we are not aware of. But once we wake up, then we have this delightful experience of getting to consciously connect with all the different realms and councils and have an active, ongoing conversation with all of them. Ooh, that's very interesting. And there we go. So in unity, our multidimensional realities become our natural, that's supposed to say natural, state of awareness. So it just, when we're not quite awake, what we're aware of is the physical world. Once we wake up and our subtle fields activate and come into our cognitive awareness, then you're feeling and seeing and just have this deep awareness of so much more. And in this is where the oneness comes in. I walk the path of oneness. This is an affirmation that everyone can do. I walk the path of oneness. I acknowledge that all of life is consciousness, divine love in form, which Janet just said. And so when we look and we see, Mikhail actually took this photograph of me when she was living here, and which depicts how we are in our I am presence, walking the pathway of the golden light. And this is what shows in that picture, in this great blue heron here. There are many animals that demonstrate this to us on a regular basis. And this is part of as we are in the consciousness and aware of the bird tribes, of the councils, we can see them as they are visiting with us and demonstrating these different things for us. The process of coming into this place, for me, of being able to really go out into the field and be aware of all my levels of communication is first, I create a deep heart connection. And then I am very present with my breath and allow that circuit of breath to come in. That is where the divine comes in through my pineal and pituitary, comes into my heart through the breath, the Holy Spirit. Then I choose to be in peace and harmony. And I do this, it's a conscious intention, which allows my field to settle and for me to become, again, very present. And then I smile, because the smiling and choosing to be in joy brings our frequency up and allows us to connect with these higher fields of energy, which are where the councils and all these beings can be seen, literally seen and spoken with. So the pictures that I have here are to help all who are here and all who watch this later to be able to soften your eyes and come into this peace place, to be aware of the councils, how they show up on the earth or above the earth, to work with us and how we are in service with them. This particular photograph was taken in Mount Shasta. I have several that were. And this is these are all Palladian ships. Palladian ships tend to be long and narrow. They are one of the most active groups in the Galactic Federation that are assisting the planet. And so they were all parked over the mountains this day, and there was a lot going on Mount Shasta in this particular time period. So there was, the Galactics were showing up in force. This was a year and a half ago, I believe. And these are all air sills, which we called in earlier. So the air sills and the angels. So when you're learning to connect and to choose to be in conversation with the councils and with the realms, before that happens, oftentimes you will just look at the sky and just see clouds. But when you intend that what you are able to do is distinguish between what's a cloud and what's an elemental and what's a galactic ship camouflaging as a cloud, then it shifts the way your eyesight and your senses pick these things up. A lot of it is the acknowledgement that they are present. So this is Mount Shasta. It was quite a while ago when there was still a drought, so there was no snow on the mountain. But this is a very, very large Arcturian ship. The Arcturian ships tend to be multi-level. And what happens in places like Mount Shasta, the Tetons, and some of the other big portal places is the ship, some of these big mountains actually have fifth dimensional and higher council chambers within them. So the ships come in and they hover over the mountain, and then they download, so to speak, all the participants who are coming to the meetings or coming into the mountain, and then the ship will step aside and just go back up out of view, and then the next ship will come in. So that was what was going on in this picture. This big ship was coming into position over the mountain to then allow its crew and those who were coming to the council meetings to debark, and then off they went afterwards. So these lenticular clouds are very common in a lot of places. We see them on the coast a lot as well, but around the mountains, you will see the Arcturians frequently. So in this particular picture, again, these are smaller ships. So if you were looking at them sideways, they would look like the Arcturian ship that we just saw, except smaller. So the ships come in enormous. Some of the mother ships are miles long. And some of the smaller ships, when people are saying, oh, I've seen a flying saucer or something, they're usually talking about scout ships, and they're very small. The ships themselves that have large crews that we work with in all these councils and all these activities are variant sizes. So these are just a middle size that have a small crew in them. And there are, again, air sills in here. This was the same day that the Palladian ships were parked over the eddies. So it was a busy day. And here I just put this in so that you might be able to see behind this rainbow. This is in the Lake Shastina area, again, outside of Mount Shasta. And this rainbow dragon had come in and settled above the hills here. And behind this, you might be able to see what appears to be a lion head. And this, I don't have a larger picture of this, but this area here is a formation, a valley, where all of the spirits of the animals come and go and can be seen in the rocks. And it's actually called the center point for the peaceable kingdom on earth. And when you look at it laid out, it's a picture, the stones are a man with the woman on top of them. And above that are faces of the lions and the lambs. And it is the energy, the epicenter, like it's one of these sacred places that Bev was talking about, where the peaceable kingdom codes are held. Now this here, when we're going from looking in the sky and being aware of the councils of the galactics and how we connect with those, the same process occurs, for me anyways, when I am choosing to be aware of the divas and the fairies and those who are closer to the earth. It is the same process. Number one, we acknowledge their presence. I am that I am through my I am presence, and I am one with all of life. I am in reverence to all of life, and I choose to connect and be able to communicate with these different realms. So this here, you can see the blue, sometimes these are called orbs, but you can see coming up out of this is actually a fairy flying out through this light. So a lot of times these will show up when the sun is coming through and you're taking a picture, and that allows the dimensional portal to occur for us to actually see these beings. But again, they're always here. And this again is our opportunity to acknowledge them and to say, I am here and I wish to work with you. Some of the other beings that are here that we work with, that I work with on a daily basis, are part of the dragons, the unicorns, and so forth. This particular being, this dragon energy, is one of many dragon guardians that are on the Oregon coast. And he's a very, very large, this is a very large stone. People walk on top of him. So he's quite big. But the interesting thing about when you become aware, now people all the time say, oh yes, that's our dragon guardian. People, awake or not awake, see him. However, what they don't see is within his folds is Meredith. Now Meredith is in the tail of this dragon creature, and she told me one day, you can see her wings, her head, her face looking to the north. Meredith is the guardian of the sea. This is who this being is, and she is looking to the north at the ocean, and this is her station when she's in form. She comes and goes, but she is stationed with the dragon is looking to the west, Meredith is looking to the north, and then in this same rock formation is the dragon rider or the guardian of the south. And they are all clustered together in this one formation, holding a power over the coast, a watch over the coast to make sure all is well. And these beings are more than happy for us to work with them. And I do connect with them all the time. I go and sit with Meredith and we connect and do all this work together. So again, when we get this multidimensional awareness and see beyond, oh, it's just a rock formation, and we go in and connect with the spirits within the stone, then you have a whole different relationship that allows you to serve with them, converse with them, gain wisdom from them, and do what you are doing here on the earth in a much more expansive way. When I first came to the coast, one of the primary things I was asked to do is walk on the beach and sing in the harmony codes. I would sing several hours a day, walking up and down the coast, working with the galactic ships who were always present above me, and calling in the harmonic codes, the harmony codes specifically. There were several other people on the planet at the same time that we were actually anchoring the harmony grid for the planet. One day when I was doing this, this heart showed up in the sand, as a thank you and an acknowledgement to me, to all of us, for what we were doing. And this again is the oneness, the consciousness. When we really dive into and embrace that we are all consciousness, then the sand, even though there was no water, the water was way out, but the sand, the water pulled back out of the sand and formed a heart shape as a message to me in gratitude for the work that I was doing. So I am my I am presence, and I am one with all of life. This is the keynote for being able to meet with these councils and to work with them. But the more details, what I will quickly give you is there are galactic councils, planetary councils, inner earth councils. There are councils of all the realms that come together. You can be out in nature and see places that look like areas where trees have been put down in a circle in a very odd but natural way. These are circles where the galactics come and meet with the realms of earth and inner earth, and they all come and sit together in these circles and do their work. And we are present with them, even though maybe in your human form at this point, you are not aware that you're doing these things. You are, because as multidimensional beings, you have many overlays. And so parts of you are serving on councils, parts of you are out doing work with the galactics. And then there's this human part of you, which is a small, small part of this amazingly huge spirit being that you are. So this enormous big being is being sent down into this wee body, but we're still busy on all of these levels. And this is the part of the awakening that as you embrace this and start being curious and playful about the awareness of what you're doing on what councils and who, you'll hear people like this group talking about the councils we serve on and the things, because we're aware of that. And also when we get a call, like I'll get called to go somewhere, and Janet might talk about later that Michaela and she and I got called to go up the coast and over to Mount Hood because the Cascadian fault line was very volatile, and we had all this work to do with the volcano. So these are the things, when you become multidimensionally aware, you intentionally get up in the morning, get into a place of unity, connect with the teams, connect with the realms, and say, what is on the docket today? It's not just your physical to-do list on a computer. We have multidimensional to-do lists, all of us do. And the more we become aware of it, especially as the time-space continuum is collapsing, you'll find yourself being aware that you're doing all these things in parallel. And a lot of us do that now, where we are having conversations on all these levels simultaneously, and we can still be present here on the earth plane and do what we're doing here. So it's an exciting time for people to awaken, become aware, and to realize that we are all part of this. We are the ground crew. We are the ground crew. We are the ones that are in body on the earth, making the calls, calling in the assistance that requires, because Janet and others say very regularly, the call for help has to come from the realm where the help is required. That's why we're here, a good part of it anyways. And so this is what we're doing here. And it's fun, people think I'm kind of crazy because I'm always out doing all the stuff, but I'll tell you what, it's pretty fun and very rewarding. So that's it, thanks.
I'd like to add one thing there that maybe some are not aware of. When we choose to be of service this way, we get immense support with whatever we need to do, wherever we need to be. Oh, I'm running late. Please, universe, I'm going to set my intention. I'm there at this time. Somehow, magically, things work out. So the amount of support and reinforcement and thanks gratitude from the other realms, it's also there. So being of service is also quite, it makes me happy, but it's also rewarding in other ways at times. So
thank you. And
about-
I will just add one little thing to that, and I may have shared this with the greater group. I know I did in a smaller group, but when I was traveling for God around the country after I walked in, and I was up in Montana, and I was living on a lake up there for months where the ships would come in and recharge in the crystals. And I was out there one morning, it was 0 degrees or whatever. And I was sitting out there with Spirit Hawk, my wolf dog, and I had something to drink, and I could see the ships were out there and we were talking, and I held my drink up and I said, salute, in gratitude to knowing they were there. And they all stopped what they were doing and said back to me audibly, salute. And the whole field rattled, and I sat and cried. It was so powerful. It was so powerful. So we are not alone. We are not alone.
Absolutely. Okay, lovely. Well, let's take a pause here and regroup for the next part, which Janet will lead.